Hi, I'm Brian Jordan, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
So I got a call that said, this is Susan Bailey. And I said, yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't know a Susan Bailey. She goes, I'm Henry Aaron's secretary. And I went, yeah. She goes, Henry would like to talk to you. I said, yeah, okay. And he said, how would you like to fly down to Sarasota and look at our pictures? And I said, I would love to. He said, well, when can you do it? Jokingly, I said, tomorrow. He goes, okay, we'll take care of that. I'll meet you at the airport in Atlanta. Susan will have the arrangements. And then I get on a plane with Hank Aaron and fly down to Sarasota. He offers me a job, and I said, well, what team do you want me to manage? He goes, no, he wants you to be a pitching coach.
Hi, this is Phil Necro. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Most guys throw it this way. Put the ball back in here, hands come around, and these two fingers come into the ball, and stiff wrist it, no follow throw, and just a little up and goes in the bat and hope there's no rotation on. The ball comes in there and does a lot there. It doesn't never do the same thing twice.
This is Kyle Wright, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
One of my favorite moments for your career, as of right now, is actually this past week. It was a show of confidence by Brian Snicker. He left you in the game after bases were loaded. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I went back and I saw that clip on Instagram several times. I'll be honest, I went back and I watched it numerous times. Kind of gave me chills a little bit. It was just really cool. I was kind of lost my command a little bit there. Still made some good pitches, but was definitely getting a little tired. So whenever he said, basically left me in the game, I feel like that kind of gave me what I needed to get me over the hump to make a good pitch, get a ground ball back to me, and get out of that inning.
This is Matt Olson. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond. Yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. Not everybody gets this opportunity to kind of set up their roots and be somewhere long term that they grew up and have family and friends. So it happened pretty quick there in spring training, and it was just an opportunity that my wife and I and my family thought that we couldn't pass up. So just jumped on it, and it's been a blast.
Says, Chief, why don't you race Ralph Garr? I said, okay. Said, Ralph Garr wants to race you too. So we started on the first base line on the outfield line. We started, bam, took off running. I beat him by 3 foot.
Mike Fulton Everett here. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
I'm Kelsey Wingert, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey, this is Andrew Jones. You're watching On Deck with Tyler.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
All right, welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I know we're right in the middle of a doubleheader, so I wanted to hop on and just talk Braves while we can. Of course, time is limited. We will be here till about 7 o'clock. Got some things I want to go through. And then, of course, we will open the floor to you guys in the comments section, so make sure you are active in the chat. I will read off as many and answer as many questions as I can. But for right now, let's talk about Game 1 of this doubleheader versus the Marlins. First off, before we get into anything else, I want to talk about Kyle Muller, because this is a guy that I followed for a few years now. Happy to see him get another opportunity in the big leagues. He did well with it. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, courtesy of Jesus Aguilar's 2-run homer, but he did pick up 5 strikeouts. So, you know what? He gave the Braves some length. I thought that was good. Followed up by a really good bullpen appearance by Jackson Stevens, Raisel Iglesias, and Kenley Jansen. All of those were scoreless. I thought all in all it was a really good game. The Braves' offense was in gear. Acuna 2 for 5, Grossman 2 for 4, but the star of the show, without a doubt, was Chadwick Trump. And I know a lot of you guys aren't going to know that name. He would be what you would call, I guess, the third string catcher. With d'Arnaud out, he is, of course, in the big leagues. He would have had 3 doubles today, but he did get slightly injured running the base pass. But credit to him for staying in the game and doing what he could, and he made the most of it. So it's good to know, if nothing else, when it comes to Chadwick Trump, it is good to know that if d'Arnaud was to go out, if William Contreras was to go out, we have someone who can give offense to the Braves, not just be a backup catcher. That is certainly good to know. So that was one of my biggest takeaways from Game 1. But again, Kyle Muller, a guy who, by the way, played today with a broken hand. Now, not his throwing hand, obviously, but still a broken hand. He did it with a softball glove. I just thought we had to mention that. I mean, credit to him. He is a beast in the minors. He was, I want to say, had the most strikeouts internationally in the minor leagues this year. This is going to be a big-time pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. And if had you asked me before the trade deadline, I would have said the Braves are either going to trade Tucker Davidson or Kyle Muller if they're going to trade a starting pitcher. And glad to say that Kyle Muller stuck with the Braves. I was happy with that move. I think today he showed that he can perform now. He can be good for the Braves now if need be. And, only time will tell about how long he's going to be able to stay in the minors, because this is a guy that can, again, perform right now. Ian Anderson takes the mound later today. We'll see how that goes. He will, of course, report to Gwinnett after that. He has already been formally optioned. He has been following the Braves along in the taxi squad. I think that's smart by the Braves to allow him to follow and get one more start out of him before he goes down, especially against the Marlins, who, frankly, are a very beatable team, and headed into the Mets series where you want everybody rested up. So hopefully Ian can get a win for the Braves today, and the Braves can head into the series with Miami or with the Mets well rested. But that's my takeaways from today. But I can't go any further without talking about Vaughn Grissom. We spent a whole hour talking about this guy the other day, and a lot of you guys didn't know who he was. I kind of wanted to introduce you to who Vaughn Grissom is, and he didn't need an introduction. He introduced himself, hitting a missile at Fenway Park out of the stadium. I don't know a better way than to get your first hit than that. So just wanted to mention that. Glad to see that. We posted about it on TikTok where I can actually show you the clip. But just a phenomenal outing for him that night. He's been solid since he came up. I think right now, I saw at one point he's hitting around 300. If not, he's hitting 300 on the dot. For a rookie, I know it's early on. I know he's only played like 2 or 3 games, but we'll still take it. He is performing offensively. He's been relatively fine in the field. I think he's a suitable replacement for Orlando Arcia at minimum. I think he's got all the potential in the world to be a fundamental part of the Braves lineup in the future. If that is his career. If that's where he winds up playing for the rest of his career, I think that'd be phenomenal. If not, he is a phenomenal player regardless. So that's my takeaway for that. And I wanted to take a second to focus on Max Fried. And I see your comments in the chats, guys. I'm going to get to everything. I promise I'm going to talk about Tatis and all that good stuff. But real quick, if you were watching the second game of last week's doubleheader Saturday, there was a moment where I know you held your breath. It was the Max Fried moment where he was laying face first in the ground, because frankly, for me, it was reminiscent of Mike Soroka going down. And I was very scared. Because look, he hit his head hard on the ground, and I knew there was a chance for a concussion. I was like, oh no, he's headed to the IL, right? The good news is he did go to the IL. It's the 7-day concussion protocol IL. And to be honest with you, it's good that we're facing the Marlins right now, which I think is very timely for the Braves. I'm not going to say it's, ever great to lose Max Fried. It never is. But it is timely to be facing the Marlins as opposed to the Mets. Tomorrow, we will play the Marlins one more time. That will be the 14th, and then we go straight into the series with the Mets. Max Fried will be able to report, I believe, either tomorrow or the 16th. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. But he will be around for at least one game of the Mets series, which, as a starting pitcher, that's all we're going to need him for. So that is the good news. Hate to see him get hurt, but again, glad it wasn't today as opposed to last Saturday. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. But, so Max Fried, well wishes, of course. But, again, at least we're facing the Marlins, who we've been able to beat thus far. But we will see what happens, of course, later on in this series. But let's get into what you guys want to talk about. We have about 45 minutes left, so we're going to just go down the comments. If you got them, rattle them off. But before we get into that, I just got to say it. Do me a favor, guys. Like the video. It really helps me get it out to Braves fans everywhere, and it really helps the channel grow. like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and of course hit the bell for notifications so that you can keep up with everything that I got going on here at On Deck, and of course everything going on with the Atlanta Braves and even across Major League Baseball. Jameson tunes in. He says he was the first like. Hopefully you're the first of many. He also says that was a good win in the first game of the doubleheader. Yeah, I agree, and you can't overlook what Kyle Muller was able to do. This is a guy who, frankly, has not only been in Gwinnett, but he's also been hurt. So great that he can come up and perform like he did. I thought that was a great thing to see for such a young pitcher. But he's a young pitcher that, I'll be honest with you, I have a ton of faith in that he's going to be in the starting rotation. I'm glad we didn't trade him. I know there was a lot of hurt feelings about Tucker Davidson, but again, I'll be honest with you, if I'm picking between the two, I want Kyle. Sean Sports Card says, another win, let's go. Let's just keep it rolling, guys. I believe right now we are 5.5 games back. Don't quote me on that. I haven't seen what the Mets did today or are going to do today, but I believe we are 5.5 games back. All right, Tice, here we go. How am I feeling about the Tatis thing? All right, so if you didn't already know, Fernando Tatis Jr. on his way back from injury in a motorcycle accident apparently tested positive for something called, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but something called clostebol, okay? And I look at that and I say, well, as a steroid, it's an anabolic steroid, which is going to catch a lot of headlines, obviously. This wasn't something to make him grow. This wasn't what A-Rod was getting. This wasn't what, the steroid users of the 90s and early 2000s were getting. This is something to help with a skin condition. It's nothing that you can't get at your local CVS. And, with all the resources that Tatis has, I think the most unfortunate thing about it is that he didn't just go to his trainers. And maybe it's embarrassing. Maybe, you can go a million different directions with that. Personally, I believe him when he says that this wasn't intentional. This wasn't, meant to try to cheat or anything, because it's not going to give you any kind of benefit in terms of your strength, in terms of anything like that. It's literally just for a skin condition. So with that said, I that's how I feel about it. It's unfortunate, for the Padres. It's unfortunate for him. I am a Fernando Tatis fan to some degree. I like the way he plays the game. I think he is a phenomenal player. But that being said, it's unfortunate. You hope to see better decisions in the future, and that's all we can really say right now. We don't know everything, but that's what my take is at the moment. Thanks for the question, Tice. Crimson says, got your hopes up for the next Met series. Do I have my hopes up? Well, I look at that calendar and I say, well, if we can sweep the Marlins, which of course is now 2 games away, then yeah, my hopes are a little up. I think my hopes are up a little bit for the Mets series anyway, because this is a very pivotal series of the entire season. This is the series that you're going to watch. I always try to pick those out. This one's it. And I'll be honest with you, last one was it too, because we could have taken first in that series. But this one can either put the Braves completely out of it, or it can get the Braves right back in it. And it might just do absolutely nothing if they split it. But it is, again, a chance for the Braves to make a run. It is, again, a chance for the Mets to put them away. There's a lot of things that can happen here. This is something that you're not going to want to miss. 4 games, Monday through Thursday. The Mets are going to bring the best they got, make no mistake, and hopefully the Braves bring theirs. I think we already saw what the Mets' best is, but I need to see what the Braves' best is. Hopefully they'll be able to do that. Let's see. Jake Hobby says hopefully Anderson is good like Muller was. I got a feeling Ian's going to want to put on a good show, because this is, again, a team that is very beatable. This is a team that you're expected to win against, the Miami Marlins, and for Ian, this is a chance for him on the way out to say, look, I'm doing my best, I'm trying my best, here's what I can do, one last showing at the major league level. But here's the thing, guys, Ian's going down. Hopefully we can squeeze out a win today, that'd be great, but Ian is going down regardless. He's already been optioned. You don't just waste options like that. They're going to make that move. And they're able to make that move because right now they have a 6-man rotation when Fried gets back, and that's going to happen Monday. So they're going to do that. And with Ian, I think they need to do that, right? We saw A.J. Minter make that transition last year, go down to Gwinnett and come back and was lights out during the entire back half. We saw Kyle Wright do that over the past couple of years, and look at him now. We've seen that happen. It can happen, especially for pitchers. Hopefully, he can go down there, figure himself out, maybe add a pitch, figure out something he's not doing exactly great. I'm not exactly a pitching whiz, but I look at it and I say, yeah, I think he needs to spend some time at Gwinnett. And it's simply based off what we've seen other Braves players do. And I'm not saying it's going to be the case for everybody, but for a guy like Ian, who has been successful before and can be successful again, I think that's the case. Now, if he has a good day today, that'll be great. But just for a second, I'm going to take a slight turn here. I just want you guys to realize, because I've seen a lot of guys out there criticize Ian Anderson, and I get it. It has been a very up and down year, to say the least, for Ian Anderson. But it's important to remember, this is a guy who got called up before he was ready, really, and was never sent back down, okay? Remember, 2020, he gets called up after Soroka goes down with an injury. And he pitched the rest of that year. He was arguably our one of our best, well, I would say he's one of our best pitchers. I think he had the best ERA that year, if I'm not mistaken, in the back half. He pitched great the postseason that year. And you know what? He held a load for the Braves that year. 2021, he had his struggles. He couldn't cover as many innings as a guy like Max Fried or Charlie Morton. You had your games where he would only pitch 4 or 5 because his pitch count got too high, threw a lot of balls, threw a lot of walks. This year I'm seeing a lot of the same problems, and the problem is it's not going away. And I think this is a chance for him to, with lack of a better term, complete his training down in AAA and come back being the pitcher he was always meant to be. He's been the pitcher that the Braves, needed at times, but I think this is a chance again for him to be the pitcher that he has the potential to be. That's what I think is going on here. Now, that being said, we have seen him have a lot of struggles, but you know what? Distance makes the heart grow fonder. I think if he goes down for a few weeks, we're going to be excited when he comes back, especially if he has numbers like Kyle Muller, numbers like Kyle Wright did in the minors. And, if he comes back and pitches anything like Kyle Wright, we're set up well for the back half of the season. All right. Crimson says Grissom is going to be a beast. Yeah, this is a guy who a lot of people have been very excited about for a long time, Vaughn Grissom. His numbers in the minors speak for themselves. This is across, of course, high A ball and double A. 389 at-bats, a 324 average, 405 on base, 14 homers. I told you guys the other day that I thought this guy would be a contact bat. I thought, he'd have a high average, maybe get the occasional homer. This is purely based on the numbers, right? That's purely what I'm seeing. I'm not saying he doesn't have the power, because, look, he proved me wrong on opening day. But this is a guy who, frankly, makes the bottom of the order interesting. He's another one of those players, similar to Michael Harris, that makes the bottom of the order very interesting. Michael Harris, you put him in the 9-hole, guess what? Well, I can't look away now. Mike Harris is at the plate, right? Now Vaughn Grissom is one of those players. And it's crazy what these rookies have been able to do this year, okay? Because Vaughn Grissom is now the third of 3 very talented rookies that have made instant impacts. Number 1, we already mentioned him, Michael Harris. Number 2, Spencer Strider. And now number 3, Vaughn Grissom. Now, Vaughn is probably not being called up for good. And that's the difference between him, Mike Harris, and Spencer Strider. The situation with Vaughn is interesting because I think the Braves were a bit forced to do it. I don't think it would have been done had Ozzie Albies not gotten hurt. Now I don't think it would have been done had Orlando Arcia not gotten hurt. So, and maybe, just maybe, it wouldn't have happened had Braden Shoemake not gotten hurt. So I look at it as a very situational opportunity to let this rookie not only get some experience but also contribute while his bat is hot, and I think it's great for him. And you know what? So far, it's been like a storybook ending. I mean, or beginning, I guess. I mean, you're talking about a guy who got his first hit as a homer at Fenway Park. It doesn't get any bigger than that. You're talking about a guy who had a book of Fenway Park growing up as a kid. His favorite park was Fenway. He had his first jersey was a Braves jersey, and this is all according to his mom, by the way. It was just a great moment. It'll be interesting to see if we can have a lot of great moments with Vaughn Grissom this year. But if he's hitting, if he's performing, I start looking at other places I can put him. That's kind of how this works. Hank Aaron, just for comparison here, Hank Aaron, I believe, got called up to replace somebody who was injured and never went back down, right? So it's just something to consider. This is a guy who's got a lot of potential. I think he's likely going to go back to the minors, but then again, if he has a great major league season or back half of the season, I guess, then this is a guy who may contribute for years to come. We'll see. By the way, guys, do me a favor and like the video just so I can get this out to as many people as I can. It really does help, and I really do appreciate you watching. It really does help. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're getting ready for Game 2 in about 40 minutes or so. We'll be here till then. We're going to answer as many questions as I can. Hello, Newman. You say maybe Ian getting the call to go down will be enough to get him going. They came out the other day, I don't remember which reporter said it, but they said, this was hard for him to hear. He understood, but it's still hard to hear. I think he knew to some degree that it was coming. And what I mean by that is, when you're on that line, right, as a pitcher, right? You can look at the stat book, you can look at who's in the minors, when you're hitting the point where they got to go with another option, or they're at least considering other options. I got a feeling Ian has known for a while that if he doesn't, get it into gear, if he doesn't perform better, then they might have to go with another option. Then again, it's never easy to hear that, and I think you're right. I think to some degree there may be a case where he goes down there, gets really motivated, and maybe even gets ticked off. But if he goes down there and does that and trains and gets right and gets better, then we'll see him back at the major league level. That's what happened with AJ Minter. He wasn't thrilled about going down last year. He was mad about going down last year. And look, he came back and he's one of the most fundamental part of our bullpen. So I think you have to look at that, and I hope Ian does come back. I want him to come back, and I want him to be the pitcher, not only that he used to be, but the pitcher that he can be. Jin Yang said, how's it going, Tyler? It's going pretty well. Braves already won a game today, and I get to watch another one. So we're doing pretty well. He says, I finally get to catch you on a live. Yeah, we've been doing a lot more lives lately. We have been doing a lot more, and we're going to continue to do it all the way through the postseason. We're considering options. When I say we, I mean me. I'm considering options about doing watch-alongs during the postseason. Unfortunately, I can't show you the actual game, but I'll find something to substitute that, and I will just do not necessarily play-by-play, but I'll communicate with you during the games, and I'll give you kind of what I think as the game goes on. We're doing a lot of those, so I appreciate you tuning in, Jin Yang, and of course we got a lot more excitement coming on later in the year. Of course, hopefully the Braves make a postseason run so those plans can take place. Vision Music Works tunes in. She says, I feel like Grissom and Harris could be the new Albies and Acuna. Love seeing them have fun. Yeah, they have a great relationship. And, I believe Vaughn Grissom hit a double last night right before Grissom mashed a homer off the facade of the upper deck in Miami. So, yeah, I think they definitely play off each other, much like Ronald and Acuna do, or Ronald and Ozzie do. So, yeah, I think that's, the case. And, that's good to see. Maybe it'll convince them both to sign a long-term team-friendly contract, too. Crimson says, I'm a Mets fan. Great work over here. Interesting to hear Braves' perspective. You know what? That might be the most respectful comment I've ever gotten from a Mets fan. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm not a Mets fan, obviously, but I do appreciate you watching, and I appreciate, the telling me I have an interesting perspective. I try to give a balanced perspective. I'm not one of these guys that's going to be just a complete fan. I try to be honest, and you know what? I'll be honest right now. The Mets have a great team this year. They're not going to fall off this year, and if the Braves are going to take the division, they're going to have to play like division champs. So all due respect to the Mets, we'll see you this week. Ryan Brown says, great start, Braves. Let's keep it rolling and finish strong. Love the show. Nice break. Not seeing Ozuna strike out at every at-bat. Yeah, I did a whole write-up on Ozuna the other day. I did a deep dive into the numbers. I'm planning on dropping that at some point. I'll tell you this. This is one thing I will tell you about Ozuna, and it's something that I plan to do a video on at some point. Ozuna striking out is not really the problem with Ozuna. He's always been a bit of a free swinger. The problem, it's a mixture of things. Strikeouts are a problem, but believe it or not, the other day, we'll say, I guess 2 or 3 days ago, as of the other day, Ozuna was 5th in strikeouts among the entire Braves team, behind Dansby Swanson, Matt Olson, Adam Duvall, who's been hurt now for 2 or 3 weeks, and MVP candidate Austin Riley. So it's not just strikeouts. As much of a problem as they are for the entire Braves club, for Marcell Ozuna specifically, it's not just strikeouts. It's also when he makes contact. Because he's swinging at so many bad pitches, he is not making solid contact. The home run he hit at Fenway the other night, where was the pitch? Middle of the way, fastball, right in the zone, right? If he swung at more pitches like that, Ozuna would have numbers similar to 2020, I believe. You look at that year, he had a .338 average in 2020. And 18 homers. If he could do that for the next 49 games, you're talking about potentially doubling his home run total. But that's where I'm at with it. We'll do a deep dive on that. Thanks for the comment, and thanks for liking the show. I really do appreciate it. Speaking of liking the show, put a like on the video for me. Jin Yang says, what a game by Chadwick Tromp. Because I get to see him with the Stripers, my season ticket plan, he is a beast. Yeah, Jin Yang is a very, I've seen him at the park. He's a very he loves the Stripers. He's there almost every time I've gone. Chadwick Tromp, I haven't got to see him in Gwinnett, so I appreciate that. But yeah, Chadwick had a great game today. I think, again, playing through being hurt says something about the guy. He is a catcher, of course, so not a surprise there. But, he had a good game today. 3 hits, could have been 3 doubles, but, you get hurt, you don't feel like running. Mark says, Anderson will only go as far as his third pitch will take him, his curveball. He may throw in something new going down to Gwinnett. There's pitchers that have done that. Nolan Ryan, the other day, I saw this. Nolan Ryan added a changeup late in his career that he never threw prior to that. And it became one of the most effective pitches he had later on in his career. So maybe you see an adjustment there where he adds a pitch. Maybe you see, just when he decides to throw it. So we will see. But Nicholas says, man, what a game, Chadwick. That was interesting. Yeah, I always like watching, young guys come up. There's been a lot of talk about it lately because, Grissom, obviously, Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, and even in recent years, we've seen so many top prospects come up, guys. You remember when Ozzie Albies came up and he wasn't that big of a deal because Ronald Acuna Jr. was right behind him, Dansby Swanson was right in front of him. You had all these guys come up at the same time. William Contreras, was a big deal last year. I mean, all these guys have come up, and it's just a constant influx of talent. The Braves do so good at developing. I mean, they really do, because you look at our farm system, and you would think, our farm system rankings, and you would think that the Braves have nothing. But that's not true. The Braves have, in their farm system right now, Kyle Muller, Bryce Elder, who got called up today, but a lot of guys down there, just pitching-wise, that can perform. Guys that got drafted this year. We've talked a lot about Cole Phillips on this channel. By the way, there's an interview. Go check it out on the channel. But there's a lot of guys that they draft that actually, turn out to be big successes, and not all teams have that. And the Braves, Dana Brown, head of scouting, that says something. But their developmental system has been phenomenal with these guys. A lot of teams can get great talent, but what they do with them, it's up to them. The Braves have been able to develop, and we're starting to really see that with guys like Grissom, who can come up and perform, ready to go the day they came up. Chadwick Tromp, another example. Michael Harris, another example. Spencer Strider, another example. There's so many examples, but it's been fun to watch for sure. Mark says, Grissom reminds me of a young Chipper Jones from the right side, a shortstop, same height with speed and light tower power. You know what? He could be. He very well could be. I don't particularly love comparing young players to older players or former players, even especially to the caliber of Chipper Jones, it's just really tough. But from the right side, I would agree with you. A lot of people have compared him to David Justice. I can only imagine why. But yeah, I get it from the right side. But Chipper Jones was also a switch hitter. But I do get what you're saying. Same height, speed, light tower power. Sounds like a young Chipper Jones to me from the right side. I get it. SIE says, let's go Braves. Hopefully they can win game 2 tonight. Nicholas says, I'm excited for Grissom's future. Him and Harris are a great future pairing. I would totally agree. You know, the thing about Michael Harris is he's got power. I mean, the guy's got 11 homers in the short span that we've had him, but he also has speed. He has great fielding ability. He has, I think he's 13 for 13 as of today in stolen bases. He has not been thrown out yet. This is a guy who's multifaceted, and we haven't really seen that with Grissom. We've seen him obviously hit pretty well, but we haven't seen the fielding to a great degree. We haven't seen, what all he can do, and there may be a time where he goes back down to the minors to get some more of that. But either way, if he keeps hitting like he's doing, they're going to find somewhere for him. Nicholas says, I hope Harris works on some discipline during the offseason, then he'd be a real threat. He has had that problem a little bit, but you got to remember, guys, he's coming straight from, this is going to be Grissom too, he's coming straight from Double-A to facing the Mets with DeGrom and Scherzer. That's not exactly fair, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Elijah tunes in. He says, I'm a big Phillies fan tonight and tomorrow. I'm a big Phillies fan tonight and tomorrow, LOL. I was a Phillies fan last night, so yeah, I'm right there with you. SIE says, hopefully we can win the division because I don't like the wild card. SIE, I agree with you. It may be what we're stuck with by the end of the year. Who really knows? But I'll tell you this. I like the wild card this year far more than I like the wild card last year because I'll take a 3-game series over a 1-game playoff game and that's it any day of the week. I do like that more, and I think it's a little bit more of a representation of who the teams are. I don't think the wild card should ever go to more than 5, but I like the fact that it's more than 1 game, if that makes sense. Sean says, if the Phillies sweep the Mets and we win the series against them next week, we will be close to taking first place. That's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask the Phillies to sweep the Mets, and it's a lot to ask, well, yeah, I guess that's true. It's a lot to ask, though. But let's just focus on what we can do against the Mets. Whatever the Phillies do is good enough for me. And looking at this calendar, if you can get past the Mets close to first place and get past the Astros, you got a good chance. You face the Pirates, who are non-competitive. You face the Cardinals, who are competing to some degree. They have good players, but they are beatable. And then you take on the Rockies to end the month. And then, of course, you face the Miami, the A's, the Mariners, Giants. All those teams right there I think are very beatable. I think the Phillies are beatable, whether or not, they go down swinging or not. The Nationals, last place team. The Phillies again. And then the Nationals again before you face the Mets to end the season. It is possible for the Braves to win the division. Don't let that be out of sight here. It is very possible for the Braves to win the division. Now, whether or not that happens, who really knows? But what I will say is this. If the Braves are able to win the games that they're supposed to and win some games that they're maybe not projected to do so, then the Braves will have a very good chance at winning the division. Appreciate all you guys tuning in, by the way. I had to get a sip of drink. I was dying. But appreciate all you guys tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Of course, we are gearing up for Game 2 between the Braves and the Marlins tonight. Hopefully the Braves can rattle off another win and we can move on before we face, I guess, the Marlins again tomorrow and then the Mets again for 4 days. And the difference in this series and last series, a key difference is that the Braves are taking on the Mets at home. You're not at Citi Field. And there is an advantage there. Hopefully Braves fans come out and make it, the difference. Let's see. Traction Jackson. I love that name. I love your profile picture, too. The Gwinnett Stripers. Says, let's keep it rolling. Not optimistic about Anderson today, but the guy the Marlins are throwing ain't much either. Look, the thing about Ian, and I've said this, plenty of times, but the thing about Ian is he has his moments. You know, he has his good moments and he has his bad moments. But I really think coming in today, he's got it in his head where, look, I've got to perform. And like you said, the guy that the Marlins are putting out there isn't all that great either. They're going to throw out Tommy Nance, right-handed pitcher, 5.76 ERA. Ian's got a slightly better one. Tommy has also got no record, which probably means he hasn't had a very big year. So that's kind of what I'd say. He's only got 25 innings played this year. Again, no record. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think the Braves have the advantage in that category today. But, you know, I still think Ian's got to go down to the minors and get some things worked out after today. But I think it is smart by the Braves, smart by Brian Snitker, smart by the front office to, you know, think about, hey, what can we get out of Ian before he leaves? And then use that and say, okay, let's put him in this game right here. Let's keep him around on the taxi squad. And then we'll have this doubleheader because, you know, in the month of August, we've had 2 doubleheaders, once against the Mets and once against the Marlins, in back-to-back Saturdays. So you got to think once they decided, okay, we're gonna send Ian down, but we're going to keep him with the team. We're going to keep him in the taxi squad, and we're going to use him where we feel the need to use him. And I think today is a perfect example because, again, he's facing off against a pitcher who, you said it, Traction Jackson, he's not all that. He's very beatable. The Marlins themselves are very beatable. It's a chance to give Ian, you know, another major league game to try to figure some stuff out and see what he needs to work on. You know, trial and error. But either way, I think it's winnable. I think it's definitely winnable. So we'll see what happens. That again is starting in about 30 minutes. We're going to be out of here in 20, so get your questions in. What you can do to get me to answer your question right now is Super Chat. That will put you at the front of the line just because if you're willing to throw money my way to hear, you know, in my opinion, then I'll be glad to, you know, do it first. Jin Yang says, let's keep the momentum going and have a series against the Mets. Yeah, they got to have a good series. They got to perform. And that's the key here. You know, we can talk about, well, we got the momentum. Well, you know, we're going to win this time because we're at home. You know, the Braves got to show up. And in a lot of those games last time, not only were they weird games, not only were there blown calls, not only were, you know, I mean, there was all kinds of things. You know, the Mets are a good team, guys. I hate to break it to Braves fans because, look, I am one. But the Mets are a very good team. And the thing they do that the Braves don't is battle at the plate. And when I say battle, I don't just mean, you know, they hit well. I mean, they hit a lot. And they swing at good pitches. They foul pitches off. They make a pitcher go longer than originally intended. And you know what? You put the ball in play, you never know what's going to happen. The Mets' batting average of balls in play is very good, very high. The Braves is not. And I think part of that is they swing at good pitches. They swing at competitive pitches. They don't get fooled very easily. And they don't go out of the zone a lot. When you do that and you foul a lot of pitches off and you stretch pitchers out, your record's going to be pretty good. You know, the Dodgers are good at that too. And what's in common with those two teams right now? The Dodgers are historically very good at that. They've been winning in the National League East for years now. The Mets are very good at it this year, and they're first place in the National League East. So it's just something to keep in mind. That's the key difference I see. I will say I've seen the offense take some steps forward since the Mets series. Obviously, Marcell Ozuna, who we talked about earlier, had the big homer at Fenway. I would really like to see him make some, you know, fundamental changes at the plate, though, and get his swing a little bit more controlled, even though that's not who he is. I think if he was able to do that and just string some hits together for once. He did have a 5 RBI night that night, so he does have that occasionally, but again, it's against the Red Sox. You know, what can he do against Scherzer? That's what I need to know. I guess we'll find out this week. Traction Jackson says, do you see Jansen remaining as our main closer for the remainder of the season? I don't think it much matters, and a lot of people aren't going to like that, but I really don't. With the additions that the Braves got in the pen, right? Today we saw Jackson Stevens, Raisel Iglesias, and then Kenley. With those additions, I don't think you can really go wrong. Not to mention Kirby Yates. I mean, with those guys, all of those three, Raisel Iglesias, Kenley Jansen, and Kirby Yates, have been closers. I think Jackson Stevens has been great out of the pen this year. He's got a 2.66 ERA this year, but lower leverage situations, of course. Kirby Yates, again, great pickup by the Braves over the offseason. We've been waiting to see him all year, and now we are. But all those guys can close. I think Tyler Batsett could close if you wanted him to. AJ Minter could close if you wanted him to. There's a lot of guys in the Braves bullpen that have been closers. Will Smith was one before he was traded. And that is invaluable because if Kenley pitched the day before, threw a lot of pitches in the ninth, and you didn't necessarily want to use him the next day, you have other options. And I think just the ability to be fluid with the pen as opposed to having a structure is a good thing. And I think that will continue to be a good thing and continue to reward the Braves, the fact that they invested in the pen and got serious guys in there that'll be able to perform. In terms of what do I see happening with the closer role, I think it's Kenley's until he loses it. But we've seen Kenley struggle this year. We've seen Kenley struggle when he was on the Dodgers at times. And then the Dodgers were questioning seriously whether or not he was going to be their closer because he had so many problems a couple of years ago. So that is a question. I think it's a legitimate question. The problem is I don't know what the Braves are thinking. If it was me, I would make it more fluid. I would go with the matchups, different things. But at the same time, I don't know that that's where the Braves are at. I think they want a guy that they can bring in who, can come out and it's lights out. And right now with Kenley, I don't think it's necessarily lights out. And, it's usually some runners on. He usually throws a lot of pitches. And that's not exactly what I love out of a closer, but that's what Mark Melancon was when he closed for the Braves. That's what Will Smith was when he closed for the Braves, throughout the regular season. I think it all matters during the postseason. And Kenley hasn't done anything drastic. His numbers are fine. Could you improve it? Sure. But when you get to the postseason, I think you're going to see a lot of things change. Because if you're in a 7-game series, in reality, you only need 2 or 3 starters. Or 3 starters. And after that, you got bullpen. And I think Spencer Strider goes to the pen at that point. It'll be very interesting to see what he does under that situation. But we'll see. Little J says, Grissom and Harris are giving me Ozzie Acuna vibes. Yep, for sure. Traction Jackson brings up a good point. He says to like the video, everybody. Thank you for that. SIE says, I didn't know it was a 3-game series. Thanks, though. Oh, yeah, the wild card. Yeah, 3-game series this year. Traction Jackson says, got to take some of those series with the Mets. They do. They really, really do. Gregory says, I'm glad we have some good young talent. My problem is I get so connected to them, and I don't want to see anyone leave our organization. An example is Tucker Davidson or possibly Grissom down the line. For sure. I get that 100%. Usually, I try to keep tabs on the guys in the minors. I personally went and watched Kyle Muller pitch a few years ago. This is me in Gwinnett watching that. I really do try to go watch these guys and get a feel for who they are, what they can bring to the major league level, that kind of thing. And I also try to be realistic. Do I see this guy in a Braves uniform long term? Tucker was a tough one because I really did. I mean, the guy pitched in a World Series game. But at the same time, I realized that Tucker Davidson's trade brought a lot more value to the Braves right now. And there's a lot of variables there. You got to consider, can the Braves, is the Braves' window of winning right now? What do they need more? You got to consider all that. Tucker Davidson was a tough one because a lot of people were connected to him. I think Shea Langoliers was a tough one. That was a tough one for me. I was kind of okay with the Pache leaving. I kind of saw that one coming. I think we all did. I was okay with Drew Waters leaving. I again saw that one coming. And as much as I hate to say it, because I actually like both of those guys, but it was time, And for Tucker, if you're going to get anything of value, you have to trade something of value most times. And it always stinks because, there's always going to be that trade that you hate. I remember being a kid and all my favorite players got traded away because the Braves decided all of a sudden they're going to rebuild. And I thought it was the worst thing ever. And now look at us. A lot of those trades are now rewarding the Braves in so many different ways. When Kimbrel was traded to the Padres, you know what we got for that? We got Max Fried. There's so many different trades like that. Shelby Miller to the Diamondbacks. We got Ender Inciarte and a young guy named Dansby Swanson, who the Diamondbacks have given up on already. There's been so many different like that. If you go look at the transactions, it helps a lot. Now, for Raisel Iglesias, it's tough because you're looking at it going, okay, what did this really get us? We're still paying this dude a ton of money. I get all that. But the Braves have decided that this is their window to win. And I think you have to realize that. And when you do, it becomes a little bit easier to understand it. It becomes a little easier to move on from some of these guys. It was, because, look, I'll be honest with you. When we traded Craig Kimbrell and the Upton brothers and Evan Gattis and Brian McCann, I mean, all those guys gone all in one felt swoop. It was tough because now I got to watch this team who I don't even know who the players are as a kid. And it was tough, and we weren't competitive anymore. It was really tough. So I get where you're at. I've been through it, but I think we're going to see this. I think we're going to see it reward itself. And if there's one guy that you can trust, I think it's this guy right here, Double A, Alex Anthopoulos. This is a guy who knows his stuff, and I think every move he's ever made under the Braves hat has made sense. I'm not saying it's going to be the best move. I'm not saying it's going to be your favorite move. But Alex Anthopoulos makes moves that make sense, and that is the key thing there. If we need starting pitching, he goes out and gets it. If we need this and that, he goes out and gets it. But he doesn't want to overpay. So when I think about that, if you don't want to overpay, especially on prospects, I look at it and say, okay, well, he legitimately believes that getting Raisel Iglesias is worth losing Tucker Davidson. So I personally can accept it, but I understand once you get attached to somebody, it's tough to lose them. Mike Jones, good to hear from you. He says, good evening. Thank you for that. Elijah says he loves the Raisel Iglesias move even more now. I personally believe that he has the best stuff in the pen, and he doesn't take years to pitch, pointing at you, Kenley. Yeah, Kenley takes his time for sure. Raisel, I think he's a good move. He's had clean innings since he came to the Braves, but I really liked the move at the time. I like it now. I thought we really needed a righty in the pen. So, yeah, I think it's good, but I get what you're saying for sure. I really like that move, and I think it's going to benefit the Braves for a long time. Traction Jackson says the Mets are good. They put it in play and have a really good pitching staff. I mean, yeah, it's hard not to have a good staff when you have guys like Scherzer and DeGrom on the same starting rotation. So, absolutely. Zach Anderson says, what's up? What's up, Zach? Sean says the Mets work the pitch count more than half the time. You can guess whether the pitcher is going to throw a ball or strike due to the pitch count. If it's 0 balls, 2 strikes, most of the time you'll get a ball. Yeah, they're able to do that very well, for sure. So that's kind of where I'm at with it as well. I think the Mets really do well with that and perform well. We're going to wrap it up here in just a second because I know the stream is taking a hit. So with that, we're going to get these questions out of the way, and then I'll probably be heading out of here. Jeb Mays says, I remember when Justin Upton was traded and Simmons was traded, I almost became a Dodger fan. Well, glad you didn't, buddy. Glad you didn't. Gregory says, great points you've made today. Always interesting to watch your live shows. Go Braves. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time when we go live. And Jeb, last question of the day. I do miss Simmons, but I love this team more than 2013, although I miss Gerald Laird. You gave him dad vibes. Yeah, I met Gerald Laird at a spring training a couple of years ago with the Detroit Tigers. I was invited to do that. Very nice guy. Hated to see him go back then. He did give dad vibes for sure. He gave dad vibes when I met him too. Jin Yang, do you think the Braves had to put A-Ray on the IL because he might have COVID? They want to be cautious to other players. I saw Kyle Muller with that brace on his arm, and I'm glad he pitched a good game. I don't want to speculate on that, to tell you the truth. I don't know. With the COVID situation is always a weird one. So I really don't know on that. Maybe it may just be, that he strained something. I don't remember what he was put on there for. I don't think it was anything that serious. But I wouldn't speculate COVID. I would just take it for what it is and move on with it. But I think the fact that I think the fact that we went with Vaughn Grissom says something. I think they wanted to give that guy a shot because A-Ray was in the waiting. But no, I really don't know. Either way, A-Ray or Guillermo Heredia, I'll take on the bench. I don't think it makes much of a difference. As much as I like A-Ray and I think he's clutch off the bench. Unspecified injury. Possibly, But, it's hard to speculate. I've never seen another player have an unspecified injury. To tell you the truth, it's very rare. But at the same time, it's like, well, who knows? It's unspecified. So we're going to wrap it up there. Guys, the stream has taken a bit of a hit. I think we're having some weather problems around where I'm at. So I'm going to wrap it up with that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Enjoy Game 2. Hopefully the Braves are able to win another one, and we can head into tomorrow with 3 wins of the series. Go ahead and win the series tonight. And, of course, we head into the series with the Mets with a sweep against the Marlins, and maybe we can get 2 sweeps back-to-back. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time right here and On Deck.
Hi, I'm Brian Jordan, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
So I got a call that said, this is Susan Bailey. And I said, yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't know a Susan Bailey. She goes, I'm Henry Aaron's secretary. And I went, yeah. She goes, Henry would like to talk to you. I said, yeah, okay. And he said, how would you like to fly down to Sarasota and look at our pictures? And I said, I would love to. He said, well, when can you do it? Jokingly, I said, tomorrow. He goes, okay, we'll take care of that. I'll meet you at the airport in Atlanta. Susan will have the arrangements. And then I get on a plane with Hank Aaron and fly down to Sarasota. He offers me a job, and I said, well, what team do you want me to manage? He goes, no, he wants you to be a pitching coach.
Hi, this is Phil Necro. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Most guys throw it this way, put the ball back in here, hands come around, and these 2 fingers come into the ball, and stiff wristed, no follow throw, and just a little up and goes in the bat. I hope there's no rotation on. The ball comes in there and doesn't bother. It doesn't never do the same thing twice.